so at one end, there's a lot of expense over there, okay? But the real kind of, for a drug company, the real expense comes in at the clinical trial stage. And, to run a very large clinical trial, multiple hospitals across the nation, and, you enroll thousands of patients all across the country. Now, increasingly, you're enrolling patients in China and India, places like that. The trial costs are exorbitant, often as high as like $100 million. And so, when you start to say, okay, so that's just phase 3, right? So for phase 2, it's also almost as much. And then phase 1 is a little less expensive. But, the aggregate cost just to do clinical trials can be as much as like $300 million. And that's just for one drug. So if you have 5 or 6 drugs in the pipeline, and you're trying to get those all into the market, now you add that to the cost as well. Now you understand why you need $1 billion a year drug. You need a couple. Yes?
What percentage of sort of drug innovation occurs here in the U.S. versus the rest of the world?
I don't have a hard number to give you, but if I had to kind of like give a ballpark, I would say probably 60% of the innovation occurs in the United States around drug discovery. Maybe 30% is like continental Europe, 10% is like Japan, and then the rest of the world is the balance of that. But that's shifting actually because so certain countries are starting to develop competitive advantage in certain segments of pharmaceutical development. So India, for example, is very competitive around chemistry. And as they become more sophisticated in that line, they'll start to move down towards the innovation side as well. China's the same way. China tends to excel more in like large-scale automation. So the robots that kind of screen 10 million compounds to find a potential drug. They're really good at that kind of stuff. And so it's only a matter of time before other territories around the world start to really kind of pick up the pace as well. But America right now is probably 50 or 60% of the innovation goes on here.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about the Boston marketplace. You did mention the Boston marketplace. How big is the lifespan? It sounds to me that it's a pretty short lifespan for a biotech company, would you say, in terms of starting out and either blowing out or getting hired?
Yeah, sure. So biotech companies, the odds are stacked against you. I'll just say that up front. But it's not gloom and doom either, because even though as a company you may not make it to the end, the reasons could be several-fold from, you get acquired, which is oftentimes a good thing, because biotech companies are very often very, very highly specialized in a particular area of technology. It's an area of expertise that, quite frankly, the big pharmaceutical companies don't have, which is why they want to do the acquisition. So very often, you get bought out, which, and if you have an equity in the company, you'll make a lot of money and you'll be happy, and then you move on to the next company, right? So,
how much do you usually get before the buying?
Well,
in terms of people?
Yeah.
Human resources, I was thinking.
Sure. Well, I think it kind of depends on, what's going on in the marketplace, how successful the company is. The biggest driver for a biotech company to get acquired is really, how good is the management team? How many molecules do they have in development? What are the indications that they're going after? How far are they in drug development? So if you have a couple of drugs that are in the pipeline that are phase 1 or phase 2, that becomes highly attractive to a big pharmaceutical company. But if you're still 5-6 years off from getting into the clinic, you tend to be less attractive for acquisition. But that does not mean that you're not attractive to a biotech company to a pharmaceutical company for other reasons. So oftentimes what will happen is these small biotech companies, what they'll do is they'll raise some money, try to get to a particular point in drug development to show, it's called scientific proof of concept, which just basically means that you get your idea going and you can test it in an animal model, and you find out by putting it in a mouse that you've cured cancer, right? So what will happen then is you'll start to go out and talk to the drug companies, and you'll say, we have a very promising compound. It works really wonderful. We cured cancer in a mouse. And so we'd like to collaborate with you. And so what the pharmaceutical company will do is they'll start to form these alliances with the biotech companies. And so let's say AstraZeneca, for example, they have a big program in oncology, so they'll partner with that company around cancer. And what they'll do is they'll give anywhere from like tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on the company and the program and those types of things. But they'll give a large injection of capital to support the research. And the quid pro quo is that you get to grow your company, you get to hire more scientists, you get to build a scientific program, and as the molecule progresses through development, then that big pharmaceutical company at some point will have a right to kind of step in and pull the molecule out and take it into their organization for development. And if you have a company that has molecules that are treating different diseases all the way around, then what you can start to do is like cutting the pie in different pieces. And each slice of the pie, you're now partnering out with a different pharmaceutical company and getting tens of millions of dollars from each one. And so that's how the biotech companies grow. So for every program that they can get funded, a large pharmaceutical company means that they can hire more scientists.
So how many more after a science? How many scientists are talking about for staff? We have another 3-person company going out trying to do collaboration.
Yeah, it's company specific, and I can't give you a hard number one way or the other, but generally, what'll happen is that as funding comes in for a particular program, they'll hire, maybe 5 scientists or something, and it'll depend on also what kind of scientists there are. Like for example, one might be an expert in chemistry, another one's an expert in, enzymes, another guy's an expert in, whatever. So it just depends on how the program gets built. But I'll say this, as those companies grow, the need for, folks that are in SG&A become important, okay, or G&A, I'll say, because now you need to hire a finance director, right? You'll need to hire HR, you'll need to hire marketing, you'll need to hire accountants. So, as the company becomes more successful, it needs to hire more folks in the G&A level, and there you don't necessarily need a degree in science, so it just kind of depends on when you come into that company. So.
I think that was my question. How likely is a company to get to the point where they do G&A folks prior to the acquisition?
How likely? It's like.
I know many companies are very actually do G&A folks by now. It's not like 10 scientists in a room.
Yeah. So this gets back to the management question, right? So, so like all things, right, there's scale.